Hello guys, welcome to my final exam for the class of for this semester. And today I'm going to talk about some of the things that I learned through this semester, thanks to this class. But first, I'm gonna start with what I did in the past, or what I used to do, and what this class has changed me in different ways. So to start, in my writing process, which is the first question, my writing process has changed a lot through the technique or the habit of drafting. In the past, my writing was more forced and perfected because I did most of my jobs in the same day. So most of the time, I just force those assignments just doing the work, and the word that the word that I did for my classes, not only for English, were made up the same day that they were supposed to be turned in. So most of the time it was just without revising or anything that I could like check or double check. I just turned what I had, and that's it. I only made a copy, and it was the one that I turned into my professor with really few changes and very poor structure. In this class, I learned that drafting helped me to see those small details that could be changed to make the work better. Also, to find a way to structure my outline, so what I was talking about when with the format that I was explaining things. I learned that drafting gives you time to make your work better, and that you have time to ask your colleagues, your professor, or anybody in general that could give you feedback to make it perfect. To finish, what this class did for me the most was to incorporate this mode of drafting before doing the like a final project, so that I could focus and perfect it as much as I can. And this has become a habit already, thanks to this class, due to the outlines that we had to do for any like podcast or like this one. And also when we use drafts to ask questions. So here we I use a draft before sending like uh a feedback. This is from a feedback session, but I did a draft first to see what like any problems that I had when doing my project. So most of the time, I drafted like something that came to my mind that I thought that I was doing wrong. Then I double checked, and to be more specific and be more like go to the point, so that a friend could help me. And this is what I came up to. And I think that without drafting, I would just ask like a question in general and not so specific. In the future, I can use this when it comes to making my resume for a job that I am applying. I can make a draft and then see what things I want to add, what is necessary, and what I need to get hired. I will even have time to ask a partner, somebody, if I know it is to know if it is good enough to make sure and be able to proceed to complete my final resume. I believe that drafting could help me in a lot of things, not only in this thing, but in other jobs, in school, or any essays that I'm going to write, just to perfect it as much as I can. And that's something that this kid has taught me, and I'm thankful for that. The second question was how my research process has changed, and by the end, and it has changed in a really good way, because I learned that how to research for reliable sources. In the past, I would gather my sources from any web page that came out when I search it up to Google. I will go with the first page, and then with the second one, etc. Then five, I used to base myself on what they were saying and what evidence they were showing me. As I think, I realized that I never knew who wrote this. That most of the other examples that I included in my essays, I didn't know who were or did they have the experience or the knowledge to be added as a source or as an example in my works. So most of the time, I added sources just to add sources, and I didn't do like a really deep research in who was the person that I was adding in my text or in my essays. In this class, I learned that I had to look for information about my sources before including them. Since anyone on the web can create their own website, as Miss Bonnie told us, that she could even do like a web page, and I mean it wasn't that hard, so everybody can do a web page, and then giving their examples. But this class showed me that you have to research if they are a professional or have the experience they need to be able to consider them as a reliable source. You know what I mean? Another important thing I learned in this class about the research process, while a long time ago I had information that it was recently edited. So what this class taught me too was that most of the web pages, are old, and most of them are not edited or edited to recent years. Most of the time, uh, we get our sources from pages that were made in 2005 or 2000s. And I mean, technology changes and new thinking arrives through evolution. So most of the time, it isn't something from the 2000 is not going to work today. You know what I mean? And how I research my sources. I can use example of the crap sheets that I use here. I use here, and I mean in the here I could I double check in the like information that when it was published, if it has to who is intended audience, does your topic require. This crap sheet told me a lot to know like what I was looking for, if it really worked for me or not, and this crap sheet really worked. Sometimes the my sources were not like that reliable or were not like that edited updated this year. So most of the times I didn't include it in my research process. In the future, I can use this knowledge when I am in charge of researching with whom I put my personal information, such a lawyer, banker, or even advisor. This is because I can find people that I have to research in people that have the experience and that are really qualified to handle these things. And this is like really preparation for me for life, because I'm going to arrive with and I'm going to know like different people that I have to trust, and I have to like do a research on who they are, and see if my trust is valid for them. Well, to change to the next question, is what that is integrating secondary sources and writing. How I do this? Well, in integrating secondary sources in my writing, I learned that to contradict my sources when integrating them in my essays or anything in general, like anything that I have to add sources. And because in the past I integrated my sources from the side in which they supported or were in accordance with what I was writing about. I did not this. I did this in order to finish an essay with examples that supported what thought, and not to get off the topic that I was writing about. The problem that I had for a long time was when I did not know what to write, and I only went with what my sources thought this to be able to. And did this most of the time because I just wanted to end with my essay or anything I did. I just wanted to go with the flow and just finish, just to be like, I don't know, not change the topic anymore, and just get to the conclusion and get done. That's it. Thanks to this class, well, in this class I learned that integrating my sources is more important than many of us believe. That they are not only examples that we could use to help us maintain a point, if not that it can be also be wrong. They could be also be wrong, and that those errors that we can find, we can elaborate more or take out more out of them. And for example, I have these my gaps that I found in many of my sources, or my three sources that I picked after researching and doing my elaboration on them. Well, then I had to like find gaps that contradicted these sources to find my own way, my own elaboration, or how I think they were missing something. How I think that they were not elaborating that much in something, like in a part, and these gaps helped me to contradict them a lot, because I found those errors that they commit when doing their research, or when they publicate their studies. So yeah, this was my example, and I think that in the future I will use this knowledge to question people that are professionals or that make themselves look smarter about a topic. And this to get more out of the topic and come to an understanding if I should trust that what they say or not. Because most of the time, people tells you a lot of things, and they talk a lot about the topic, and if they don't let you talk in anything, and they just give you their opinion, and sometimes you just stay quiet and don't ask for questions, or don't agree with them, but they don't care, because they think that their point are the truth, and that's it, and then there's no more truth. So this will help me contradict them and find like what I think, and be like myself and contradict them. And if they respond like a really well, or they not, or they don't, I mean, most of the time I won't believe these guys. So yeah. Then the fourth question was my writing purpose. I learned that to give in this class I learned to give my research a purpose for my audience, because in the past I did not write with a purpose. More than anything, I wrote my essays so that the teacher will give me a good grade. Uh, the purpose did not exist in my writing. The closest thing to me being able to give my essay purpose was my conclusion, but it was not like a wake up call or to my audience to follow, or and nothing like that. But thanks to this class has taught me to give the purpose, so that each page, each word is worth it, the time that I put in. Like that my audience could read my essays and make them feel like they should do something or change the way they see things. This class helped me find ways for my audience to see my purpose, and for them to do something with it. And I can use the example of my research tool. This research tool was after I found my gap, and my audience of my and the gap that I found was more focused on my audience. So these questions are more like, go ask these questions to be able to, well, these questions are like just for my audience to follow. So they, after like they read or see my research, they could do these things and try them by themselves, and like that they can get the message from the text and the research tool to practice it in their own person. So yeah, that's what I think that research tool helped me a lot to give that purpose in marcha, or in to in my purpose to be practiced by other persons. And this knowledge can be applied in my future, so that the people who read or see something made by me always have something in mind, and more than anything, they do something about it. Yeah, my knowledge, this giving a purpose to everything I do, uh, I think it's gonna help you a lot, because it's not going to only help me, but it's going to help another person to stay with it. So going to the fifth question is fitting genre to audience and purpose. Thanks to this class, I learned how to focus my projects on my audience, and this is that in the past I did not make my audience known, because I spoke a lot in general. Like most of my essays were in general, like just talking about me or something like that. This speak more. I speak more for myself in most of my research, in my research papers or in my essays, and give my opinion about what I was writing about. To be honest, if I wrote something or did something, it was more for a specific person, not for an entire audience. I think that most of my papers were just for my professor to read, and that's it. But thanks to this class, uh, this class has taught me that how to write for a group of for people who have the same taste, that think the same as me, and those that feel that are related to me. In this class, I learned how to shape a theme so that I will focus on a specific audience. I learned to spend the time it will take to collect knowledge to be able to speak to my audience. Yeah, my audience, thanks to my gap, now we're going to go back here. Thanks to these gaps, I learned that how to focus my topic or what I'm researching about to my audience, to a specific audience in general that have the same mind as me, that wants to have the same goals as me. So yeah, thanks to these gaps that I found in different, all of these are different gaps. So for different audiences with different tastes. But I went with the one that was more like me, or were like I was more connected to, so my audience could connect with me too. I will use this knowledge in the future to continue doing projects for all my classes or for my job that require a specific audience. Thanks to this class, I'm going to be able to research, to find those small details, to investigate, to focus every assignment that I will be in charge to do, to have an audience for somebody, because most of the time, a lot of papers that I read personally don't have like an audience, so it's more like so that everybody could do it. And this not helps you, because I mean, you're not like everybody else, and you're in a certain group of people that need like a specific directions or specific information. So I think that in the future, most of my work is going to be focused in an audience, so it could be worth the writing and everything, and the thought and the research. Going to the sixth question is learning with your peers. How did I learn with my peers? I learned that different ideas can come to one together, or working together, because in the past, many of the times, like my experience with learning with peers, it's really different in the past, because in the past many times I study or learn alone, more than anything, because my peers used to use their time doing other things, and I can say that I was always the one who studied or that focused the most. But what I mean is that each person had their own way of learning, and the time it takes them to do so. This is why often I often did not learn in a group with my peers, because most of the time we were distracted or were not focused on the same thing. So yeah. And I mean, and thanks to this class has taught me that how to learn and work with my classmates so that our jobs will be better. This class gave me the lesson that sometimes working as a team or as a group of people we can agree with one answer. This making all of us learn from each other and learn more about something that we do not take into account. For example, my feedback sessions, they give me a lot of answers to one specific problem that I had, and this helped me to sometimes find my answer, so I could find to solve my problem. Other things were my readings. Most of my readings that I turned in, well, before this COVID-19, and we when we went to school, what there was that when we do the readings, some of we did the work by ourselves, find the claim, the audience, the details, the evidence, and things like this. And sometimes we were not like in the we didn't have the same answer sometimes, but when we talk as a team, we found those answers, or we were be able to come with just one answer for all of us. And that was that I really learned a lot from that, thanks to this class. And I will use this knowledge in the future when it comes to meetings or discussions as well, because understanding and learning is something very important to one's life in the future, for jobs, for your life, for life in general, for everything. So thank you, Bonnie, for these feedback sessions and these group works. And then number 7, it was the feedback process. Well, the feedback process, I learned a really good way to format a question when it comes to asking feedback. In the past, to be honest, my way of asking for feedback was never specific when I asked for it. This is because I didn't even know where I needed feedback on. Besides, in the past, when I asked for feedback, my colleagues told me that everything was fine and did not give me any specific feedback. This is why I did not want to ask for feedback from anyone, because everyone will say the same thing, that that about this the response to my feedback, or to my ask for help, were like, okay, it's fine, yeah, it's fine. You can just change like the grammar and that's it. And now, and thanks to this class taught me a format for asking for help that makes me think I have a problem. Like, why I think I have the problem, it's first, it's a base of questions that we have to ask ourselves. So for example, why I think I have that problem. I think how that problem makes me feel, something that I think is very important when asking for feedback, because it helps the person giving you feedback to feel connected with you. Another one is what I have done to solve it. This puts you to think about all the things that you have not done, and many times you realize that you forgot one. And what I and another question that we have to ask ourselves for the final is to what help I want specifically. This is an important question in this format, because because many people can give you many solutions for one problem, and I have to ask this question to myself in order to ask my colleagues for feedback. All of these questions of why I think I have that problem, how that problem makes me feel, what I have done to solve this problem, and what I want specifically. It's a really good format, and I have it for all my feedback sessions here, and then mm, and then here too this format, and it has really helped me to have like really good answers and really good responses from my peers. And my example are my feedback sessions. These ones are my example because they're we can see how it is this format of questions that I ask myself, then ask the a specific question, and that really helped me. I will use this knowledge in the future when I have to ask for feedback about how to do the work better in my job or in school, or just when I'm having trouble learning something new for me. I mean, I'm going to learn a lot of new things throughout my life, and I think that as this format of asking a question or something that could give me feedback, it's really good. So I could get like a specific responses from my peers or from anyone in general. Thank you for your time, and thank you for this semester, Miss Bonnie.